Alligator Alcatraz, America's newest prison, deep in the heart of the alligator-infested Florida Everglades.
Biden wanted me in here, okay? He wanted me. It didn't work out that way.
President Trump toured the facility today where 5,000 undocumented migrants will be detained inside hog wire cages on rows of bunk beds. He cracked jokes about the harsh environment.
We're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison. How to run away. Don't run in a straight line.
Meanwhile, the president and his former first buddy, Elon Musk, are at each other's throats after Musk once again bashed Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, calling the GOP the Porky Pig Party. Trump is hitting back today, threatening to target Musk.
We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible?
And get this, he didn't rule out deporting the South Africa-born billionaire.
I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look.
The big, beautiful bill narrowly passed the Senate today. Vice President J.D. Vance cast the tiebreaker vote.
The bill as amended is passed.
3 Republicans voted against it, including North Carolina's Thom Tillis, who blew a kiss to the cameras. Many wondered if it was a defiant message to President Trump. But no, the kiss was for his grandkids who are on vacation right now without him. It's Alligator Alcatraz.
For streaming movies and
rejected an offer by President Donald Trump to send U.S. troops into Mexico to help fight drug cartels. Since Mr. Trump took office, the U.S. has quickly increased its military presence along the southern border and off the Gulf Coast. Senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata joins me now from the Pentagon to talk through this. So, Charlie, why is this something the president wants?
Well, John, Trump said that given the chance, he would like to launch strikes inside Mexico. Now, unleashing drone strikes on suspected targets in a neighboring country like Mexico without that government's consent would certainly be unprecedented, if not an outright breach of international law. But we live in uncommon times. So President Trump designated the cartels as a foreign terrorist organization really on Inauguration Day, saying they're a threat to national security and declaring a national emergency. So that's the reason he's given for essentially militarizing the border. He opened up these two national defense areas, is what they're calling them, stretching for hundreds of miles, but only 60 feet across, filling it with thousands of active duty service members and military equipment.
And can you walk us through what has been done so far, Charlie, at the southern border with respect to the military?
Yeah, so last week, the SecDef senior advisor, Sean Parnell, said they deployed 11,900 active duty troops to protect the southwest border, establishing those national defense areas. And according to him, border crossings are down 99.99%. They've also deployed 2 U.S. destroyers, the USS Gravely to the Gulf, call it what you will, and the USS Stockdale off the coast of Southern California. They sent military equipment like Stryker brigades, and it's also worth pointing out the units that have been sent here. Yes, they are in close proximity to those areas, but we're talking about the 10th Mountain Brigade, the most deployed Army unit in the services, used in Iraq and Afghanistan, most recently in Syria, elements of the 3rd and 4th Infantry Division, Marine Expeditionary Forces. So, John, these are combat teams because, as the defense secretary explains it, they're looking for 100% operational security of the border, and this is a war.
Shay Shalom, Yasharallah, peace be to the nation of Israel, whom automata they so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and speckled Israelites being the Israelite foreigners, scattered across the 4 corners of the earth, including within America, Babylon the Great, the main place for our captivity. And we are the Most High, Yahweh, chosen people of the nation of Israel. So without further ado, as always, in Allah Shwan Kadash, being the holy tongue, is in the Paleo Hebrew, meaning in ancient Hebrew. I'm going to give all praises, glory, infinite honor to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom is the God of the living. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Baruch, Hodash, which is all praise to the Heavenly Father. Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahushua, and the Holy Spirit, whom is our strength and our Redeemer, and our light and our salvation. In the same tongue, I'm Adamashana Kabawadium, Lahasaquanium, Shal Gadawaraka, many double honors to the apostles and elder bishops, great millstone, and teachers and rules well. And Shalom honor salutation to Bayashad Abadah, meaning the house of David, of the 1/3 elect remnant of the nation of Israel, along with the rest of the 1/3 elected men, women, and children of Israel. It's your fellow servant Malak Rayab, back at it again with another lesson through the spirit of prophecy, being a testimony of our Lord and Savior, Hamashiach Yahushua, who the master of the world ignorantly refers to Jesus Christ. And the title of this lesson is going to be entitled The Brutal Border Crisis Agenda Further Exposed. Okay. On behalf of whom these devils have been targeting, okay, with this particular aspect of this satanic NWO agenda, which includes the whole Trojan horse surrounding the border crisis / migrant surge approach to this agenda. Okay, to target the undesirables. Okay, hence Trump's slogan "Make America Great Again," which is an encrypted message, which means make America white again, make America Edomite again, pro-Edomite, by purifying it of its undesirables, the so-called Negro indigenous populations of the respective kingdoms of the nation of Israel, i.e. the southern and northern kingdoms of Israel. Okay, so and they're speaking loftily within this the components of this agenda. Okay, in terms of how they've been oppressing, the targeted demographic of people. Okay, mainly through their main, the main components of their satanic agenda, including politics, using the guise of the whole gang affiliation, MS-13 approach, the whole cartel approach. Okay, to further justify the ill treatment towards the tribes crossing the border. Same sentiment in mind that they had during slavery to justify slavery. Hence why they referred to the Indians and the Gadites, so-called natives, as Indians, which Indian means savage, case in point. See? So just how they're justifying destroying them Ishmaelites over there in Gaza. Okay, by considering them to be Goyim. So this further exposes this the brutal border crisis agenda of the satanic NWO agenda by way of Esau's God complex predicated off of so-called white supremacy. Okay, hence why he's been rounding up the southern kingdom as of recently. Okay, looking to militarize the border. Okay, all right, and so forth. So this is on CBS News, and it says police find 383 corpses piled up in crematorium near U.S. border Mexico. It says 2 people have been arrested after police found 383 corpses piled up in a private crematorium in northern Mexico's Ciudad Juarez near the U.S. border. The local prosecutor's office said Tuesday, attributing the grisly find to negligence. All right, it says the bodies were deposited irregularly in the crematorium, which were not cremated. Eloy Garcia, communications coordinator of the Chihuahua State Prosecutor's Office, told AFP. It says Garcia said the corpses were stacked in no apparent order in various rooms of the building where the crematorium operates in the city about 10 miles south of El Paso, Texas, where we preach. Okay, down here. Okay, which is which this particular area is right across the border. So this is not a coincidence, man. This is a further indication of judgment, as Yahushua said. Okay, somewhere I believe in the book of St. Mark, where he said, if they don't receive you, wipe off the dust from your feet, mean move on to the next location for that area that, the Israelites within the gates of Jerusalem that were not to accept this truth, representing the 2/3 of Israel, will be accursed. So this is why the judgment is taking place, because Jacob is rebellious and not taking heed to this word by inclining their ears to this gospel, the good tidings, the good news, okay, for their bloodline, their pedigree, their nation, okay, that which consists of the kingdom of heaven, the everlasting righteous kingdom of heaven, okay, benefiting them, okay, as they are married to the Lord, joined on to the Lord through the first holy covenant, okay, in which we perpetually broke time and time again. No matter how many times the Lord Yahweh Shemeshai saved us out of these battles of our enemies, out of the hands of our enemies, we continue to rebel against him. Hence why he gave us over to the hands of lawless enemies. Okay, including Esau Edom, the epitome of lawless enemies, breaking his own constitutional laws, abusing the due process clause or clauses under the 5th and 14th Amendments, through the integrations of customs enforcement agents, aka ICE, rounding Jake up, unjustifiably. Further confirms this devil of truce breakers, it says in Psalm 55 and 20, was a part of his modus operandi, his track record, which is a part, which is a part of the secular history that, of this devil, this devil's true, vile, profane nature. Hence, him breaking every single treaty with the so-called natives, man. So there's nothing new under the sun. This is the same devil that used politics, the guys of politics to persecute you so-called Mexicans at the tribe of Issachar, crossing the border, considering you to be dirty, lousy Mexicans because you were supposedly infested with lice and typhus, where they made you delouse in vinegar and kerosene baths around 1917, when that Edomite mayor Thomas Leah Jr. was an authority. So there's nothing new under the sun, man. And see, the problem with Jake is they don't understand their own history. Mainly so-called Hispanics I'm gonna focus on. You like to oppress the so-called your so-called Negro counterparts of the Southern Kingdom through these little childish, foolish names, of mockery, such as Mayate and Moreno. But pretty soon ain't gonna be no Pinche Mayate, Pinche Moreno, because right about now you're getting a nigga wake-up call, man. Even though the Southern Kingdom is being rounded up now, including so-called Haitians and Benjamin from the Caribbean. You spickaroonies, you two-thirds spickaroonies are getting your nigga wake-up call right about now, man. Because you refuse to hearken to the voice of your power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because you are Israelites, not these bywords the common oppressor has attributed onto us, i.e. Negro, black, colored, shiners, African American, black, nigger, Negro, Mexican, Hispanic, Latino, Chicano, Indigenous, Indian, Beaner, Spic, so forth. Pursuant to Deuteronomy 28:37, those are bywords that will further identify who we are in these last days, because we are the chosen people of the Lord under the curses. And this is why the part of those curses is this devil representing the eagle in Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, pursuing us, man. As it speaks about in Lamentation the 4th chapter. Further furbishing his sword in the process, spoken about in Ezekiel the 21st chapter. And this is why he wants to invade Mexico on behalf of the Trump administration, to use, once again, the guys of politics through the whole gang affiliation approach, through MS-13 and the cartels, to keep that negative stigma over our people, to justify targeting civilians, just like they're doing over there in Gaza, targeting countless amounts of civilians, and justifying doing so by referring to them Ishmaelites over there in Palestine as Goyim. See that? So it's not a coincidence that they found 383 corpses piled up in that crematorium near the Mexico border, not too far away from here. Same reason why it's not a coincidence that they found multiple bodies found with hands and feet tied in the Mediterranean Sea off of Spain. Bring this out. It says Spanish authorities have launched an investigation after discovering multiple corpses in the Mediterranean Sea whose hands and feet have been tied, police said on Monday. According to regional daily Diario de Mallorca, since mid-May, civil guard boats have spotted at least 5 bodies with their feet and hands bound. Police suspect that the victims may be migrants from North Africa. Is a key word there. Says the Majorca Daily Bulletin reported. So that's pretty much the point. Says authorities said 31 bodies have been found in the waters and beaches of the archipelago between January and June of this year. The Majorca Daily Bulletin reported earlier this month. You see that? So it says there have also been dramatic rescues in the region. Earlier this month, a charity ship rescued more than 50 migrants from an abandoned oil platform in the Mediterranean, where one woman gave birth, according to the Spain-based NGO Open Arms. So basically migrant. Let me read this here. 2023 In 2023, the UN International Organization for Migration recorded 8,542 migrant deaths around the world, with 37% of these deaths occurring in the Mediterranean. So basically, being a migrant is just another demonizing term to refer to undesirables on behalf of the God complex of so-called white supremacy. It's not a coincidence that this many migrants, so quote unquote, were found handcuffed, bound, okay, fatally found handcuffed. You see, because we're living in a time of the cruel Lord in Isaiah 19:4, whom we believe to be Nero Caesar reincarnated, DJT, number 47, Agent 47, if you will. Okay, so it's not a coincidence. All this high level, oppression and affliction is happening under his watch. Okay. Hence why here on Fox News, it says Trump to visit Alligator Alcatraz for grand opening of swampy Everglades detention center for illegal aliens. Okay, meaning illegal foreigners, which is an oxymoron because the very people that they refer to as illegal aliens or migrants or immigrants, it consists of the bloodline of the forefathers who were here before these devils conquered this place on behalf of the indigenous. Okay, so they're the real illegal aliens and migrants because they didn't give the so-called natives their papers, their documentation when they came over here. So how come they're not reciprocating the same energy that was given to them? Why? Because Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, the man of sin, son of perdition, is a goddamn devil the Bible speaks of, and the tribes, mainly northern tribes, are having to find out the hard way. So I'm going to start off with this first precept in Isaiah 47 and 6. It says, I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst shew them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke, who were ancient. Let's get Isaiah 44 and 7 and start at verse 1. Matter of fact, we can start at verse 7. And who, as I shall call and shall declare it and set in order for me, since I appointed the ancient people, and the things that are coming and shall come, let them shew into them. And the prophets of the Israelites are declaring prophecy. For prophecy means to say before, the things that were prophesied to happen, preordained in the book of life. Okay. The ancient scrolls in book form, the holy scriptures. Okay. Because we have the zeal of the Lord, as it says in Romans the 10th chapter. Why? Because once again, we're married or joined on to the Lord. Okay. Being sanctified by him through the holy covenant. Okay. So this is Isaiah 44 and 1. Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. So this is whom the ancient people are. Okay, the Israelites. And that's why that further pertains to you so-called indigenous tribes. Okay, predominantly seeking validation from your common oppressor of both kingdoms. Okay, by dyeing your hair blonde, putting on rose blush and, lighter makeup to appear to be lighter complected to emulate the oppressor. By way of the effects of the psychological effects of Stockholm syndrome, which is psychologically developing love for the slave master under a long duration of time, being subjugated under his wicked oppression and affliction. Okay, is ultimately part of his authority. All right, so so this further confirms that you so-called indigenous, including you so-called Hispanics of the Northern Kingdom, are a part of the ancient people, the Israelites, the ancient Israelites. So further confirms that. Okay, shortly after, the Syrian captivity from around 734 BCE to 720 BCE, from at the end of that approximate 14-year period. Okay, around 720 BCE up until now. Okay, when you calculate it, the Northern Kingdom, the modern day indigenous, have been in America, Babylon the Great, for about 2,744 years. So that further confirms that you are part of the ancient people, the Israelites, the ancient Israelites, who've forgotten who you are. Okay, but there's no room for negligence any longer, because as Yahushua said in St. John 15 and 22, if I had not come, they would not have known sin, roughly paraphrasing. And that's why he said there would be no cloak for the sins of our people, as in no covering for the sins, for you to act oblivious to why you get judged by the Lord, your power. Okay, because you're not hearkening to the words of his voice, through the warnings of his men, his prophets. telling who you are, reminding who you are through the book of remembrance. Okay? Reteaching you the law, statutes, commandments that further makes us the ancient Israelites. That's why our people are getting jacked up, man. And that judgment is intensifying. So let's get it's a quick precept. Songs of Solomon, or Prayer of Azariah, verse 8. Okay. And let me see here. It says here, Prayer of Azariah, songs of three holy children, verse 8. Wherefore all that thou hast brought upon us, and everything that thou hast done to us, thou hast done in true judgment. The point is verse 9, Salakia. And thou didst deliver us into the hands of lawless enemies, most hateful forsakers of the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shem Yahushai, and to an unjust king, and the most wicked in all the world. See that? And the most wicked king of all the world, the modern day king of Babylon, of the golden city, mentioned in Isaiah 14:4. Let's get another quick precept. Psalm chapter 106, and starting verse 36. And it reads, and they served their idols, which were a snare to them, a trap, referring to our people, okay, known to be idolaters, into Santa Muerte, Santa Maria, Santa Muerte, and going to that Santeria, witchcraft, okay, including the reverence of Guadalupe, modern day Queen of Heaven, Semiramis worship, which is clearly pagan idolatry. Roman Catholic cathedrals, a lot of these so-called Hispanics can pass about. They got santos up in there, your idols, pagan idols. You're into the rosary beads, more superstition through pagan idolatry. Okay, Southern Kingdom into similar idols as well. Okay, including the common idol that we all know about, Cesare Borgia, the false image of Messiah, up in Jake's homes, on the posters, on the walls, and so forth, man. So this is verse 37. Yea, they sacrifice their sons and their daughters into devils, because all these idols originates back to sun god worship through human sacrifice, okay, which was prevalent in indigenous culture, okay, especially within Mayan culture, okay. So when so-called indigenous were cutting out the hearts of their own people and sacrificing them to the sun god, aka Nimrod, of the ancient Molech and Baal ritualistic sacrifices, further confirming these so-called Hispanics or Israelites, because these wicked practices were being done in ancient Jerusalem, ancient Sumeria, and ancient Egypt, for example. That's what that movie Apocalypto, produced by Mel Gibson, was all about. Okay, sun god worship, the human sacrifice. So this is Psalm 106 and 38. And shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrifice unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. Thus were they defiled with their own works, and went a-whoring with their own inventions. Therefore was the wrath of the Lord Yahweh by Shem Yahushai kindled against his people, insomuch that he abhorred his own inheritance. And he gave them into the hand of the heathen, and they that hated them ruled over them. See that? And they that hated them ruled over them. So Esau's rulership is of no exception, especially within this current administration, man. See, this devil has a sincere, profound, ancient hatred for our people, pursuing Amos 1:11. Why? Because our forefather Jacob supplanted his forefather Esau, Edom, out of the blessing. So out of envy, the devil came death into the world. Ultimately, part of the envy of the devil, Esau, Edom, is chipping every Israelite to try to take back his blessing, which is not going to work. Okay? This is Psalm 106 and 41. And he gave them into the hand of the heathen, and they that hated them ruled over them. Their enemies also oppressed them, and they were brought into subjection under their hand. Many times did he deliver them, but they provoked him with their counsel, and were brought low for their iniquity. You see? So this is why we've been given over to the hands of this cruel Lord, man. Let's go ahead and get this real quick. Isaiah 14:4 says, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. To the right, the golden city represents prosperity. In the modern day sense, this is America, where every nation wants to come over here and get a taste of this prosperity, by way of the luxury of the lust of the eyes and the flesh, Okay, further, a further representation of the carnal abundance that America, Babylon the Great, the whore, offers people. Another example of that is these Ishmaelite women come over here with their hijabs on and so forth, and their body coverings, covering their faces and their bodies. Okay, as women are supposed to do. Okay, to practice discretion. That's why there's a lot of grapes that takes place, because these women want to be promiscuous, harlots. But nonetheless, a lot of these Ishmaelite women and Elamite women come over here to the States and in Babylon the Great, transitioning from their so-called Middle Eastern garb with the hijabs and coverings and so forth to showing their cleavage, okay, their thighs. And I've seen this. So that's another example of the effects of the wine of fornication as Western philosophy on the world. Okay, of this golden city, America, Babylon the Great. It says, Isaiah 14:5, the Lord Yahweh by Shemeshai had broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. Why? Because he's exhausting the source of the strength of you devils, man. That's making your appetite for strength and power hunger bitten. Okay, meaning what? Your insatiable appetite for power through the bloodshed of the saints mainly, and bloodshed in general. Okay, it's caused you to further starve, okay, by way of the power that you're losing, okay, predicated off of your white supremacist ideals. This is verse 6. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. Okay. And up until now, where the worst of the heathen nations pursuing Ezekiel 28 will have their way with you. Okay, and this is why China has recently supplied Iran and Pakistan with missiles, and they've been supplying Pakistan with missiles. Okay, because they have a mutual understanding to destroy America, Babylon the Great, and this is ultimately the judgment is going to take place here. Okay, as a memorial of how not to live within this wicked covering cast of evil, America, Babylon the Great, through this Western philosophy, including Esau's politics, he justified to destroy the tribe. So what I'm gonna do now is play this video by the brother out there, under this platform, GMS Feed the Flock, out there in Iowa, and I'm gonna move around here, but I'm gonna start at this point here. All right.
So this is from New York Post. Trump floats possibility of deporting American citizens.
Fortunately, I'd like to say, a little controversial, but I couldn't care less. We have a lot of bad criminals that came into this country, and they came in stupidly. It was an unforced error. It was an incompetent president that allowed it to happen. It was an auto pen maybe that allowed it to happen, and it did happen. But we also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time. People that whack people over the head with a baseball bat from behind when they're not looking and kill them. People that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old to our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to.
Well, what about sex traffickers? Associated with grape, being that grape is a shameful thing in America, Babylon the Great, where a rapist can get the kitchen sink thrown at him in Esau's Freemasonic court systems and having the key thrown away. But yet this nigga running his fucking mouth is associated with Epstein, partying with Epstein back in 1992, and has been further exposed as being associated with that cretin, that sexual deviant miscreant. But yeah, he's running his goddamn mouth about Jake being degenerates. That's Esau projecting his wickedness upon our people, because he's a devil. He speaks with a forked tongue, man. All right, but the late great Native American activist of the American Indian movement, Russell Means, had mentioned how the white man has no soul, roughly paraphrasing. Why? Because that's part of Esau's name prediction, is nomen omen in the Latin tongue, meaning name prediction, as in Esau Edom, or Aisha in the Hebrew for Esau, meaning wasted away is he, because he's wasted away not only in his pigmentation, by way of that mark of Cain, leprosy, as a further memorial of his wickedness, but wasted away in his soul. Very cruel in how he rules the nations, further prophesied in Isaiah 14:6, man. All right, but I digress.
Get them the hell out of here too. You want to know the truth, so maybe that'll be the next job that we'll work on together. But I think getting them out, we forget about them. We had some bad accidents in New York, and they're not accidents that were done very much in purpose. People being pushed into a subway just before it arrives, going 40 miles an hour, and they're 10 feet away from where the thing is, get pushed right into the face of the subway train, get whacked and killed. These are sick people. I'd like to get them out of here too.
Right, so he's letting you know right there. And who is he speaking about? Who's the people that's been here for a very long time that you think he wants to get out of this country? All right, and the propaganda's already been out there, to demonize Jake, put them on the face of crime and everything like that. And when you go back into slavery, see, the way that Esau justified the treatment of the slaves was saying that they were animals, all right, and various different pseudoscience as well, all right, but that's the narrative that was pushed out there, man. Well, the same thing now. See, now it's like, well, if you're brown, you're a criminal, all right, because once.
And that's why this brutal border crisis agenda of this, ultimately the satanic NWO agenda, is being further exposed, okay, by way of the demographic of people they're targeting through this whole migrant surge border crisis situation. Because, case in point, how come Trump didn't reciprocate the same energy of persecution and violating the due process clauses under the Fifth and 14th Amendments during them towards those 50 so-called white South Africans those 50 so-called white South African nationals who were allowed into America, free passageway, with no resistance whatsoever. Why? Because persecuting them goes against the agenda. By way of what the brother said, they're targeting a particular demographic of brown people, and that's the tribes. So this is what is further exposed in this brutal border crisis agenda, man. Okay.
Again, as it's been coming out, like, he isn't grabbing all these criminals, so to speak. All right, they're grabbing people that are just working in the country. All right, not even people that are illegal. They're literally grabbing citizens.
See, this is far-fetched information for Jake, because Jake will say something foolish like, well, in terms of the Hispanics, that's not our fight. F them, and you got these YouTube content creators like Red Supreme and these other individuals. What's the name? Tariq Nasheed of the so-called Foundation of Black Americans, which is a nonsense term, but nonetheless, individuals of that particular movement, so to say, will utter the sentiment of, well, tell with these Hispanics, man, let them fight their fight. They don't like us, which they don't like us, but you don't understand why they don't like us, man, because you're not spiritual. It's because a spiritual man discerns all things, judges all matters, roughly paraphrasing 1 Corinthians 2:15. So you would understand, if Jake was spiritual, collectively, they would understand why these so-called Hispanics don't like us, because that's part of the curses, man. You see? So that's why, this is why part of their judgment is justified, because they don't know who the hell they are. Okay? And Jake, in general, don't understand that Esau's using this whole border crisis / migrant surge as a crafty, indirect approach to target all of the tribes, man. Okay? That's why the so-called Haitians and tribal Levi are on the chopping block at this point. Part of those many so-called migrants that are being geared to be housed in that Alcatraz prison in Florida, where Trump was literally publicly, boasting and the affliction of those so-called migrants to be shipped in that concentration camp. That's exactly what it is. You were joking about it on an Instagram post I just played in the beginning of the lesson, man. So this devil's not playing, man. It has nothing to do with illegals. It's about the grand scheme of this agenda, man. That's to make America great again, to purify this place of the tribes. Okay?
Here that got here legally through the proper means, right? Grabbing them up, all right, and shipping them away. Okay, and the reports have already been coming out that when they get put on these cargo planes, all right, that those cargo planes, all right, are going over the ocean and just dropping Jake out of a plane, man. All right, and bodies are being found on the seashore with their hands and, shackled up, So this is great wrath that's coming down from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, and these things are happening, and he's coming for the southern kingdom. All right, this isn't just limited to northern kingdom. No, he's coming for the southern kingdom. It's already talks about coming for Levi. I think it's at the end of, it could be at the end of this month if I'm not mistaken, or the beginning, or it could be in September. All right, he has a bill that I forget the order of the bill that got passed, and he said they got 90 days to organize it. All right, but I can't remember exactly when that 90 days is up. But what the bill goes into, or the executive order goes into, is how they're going to militarize the hoods. All right, Jake neighborhoods, man. They're saying, he said that that's where the most crimes are committed. All right, and that's what he wants to militarize. All right, so troops are going to be in these Jake neighborhoods. As a matter of fact, let me see. I think it was the Defiant Lawyer, because I can find that clip real quick. All right. Just bear with me, because yep.
That 90 days is up.
Perfect. This is right where I left off. I used this in another lesson. All right, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit on this. Well, actually, I can make it bigger. All right. No, I should have just zoomed in.
The 20.
Okay. So I'll let him say what he was saying about it.
That executive decisions. You all are still, some of you, defending him. And don't forget that executive order that he put out several months ago, where he said he's unleashing militarized cops, presumably in our neighborhoods, since he said last year that blacks commit most of the crime in this country. And I don't know if you've forgotten or whether you even knew, but in that executive order, he gave his administration 90 days to pull all that together. That 90 days is up the 28th of this month, the 28th of July. So let's see what all that results in.
All right, so he's got the funding. All right, the all this funding going into ICE. All right, because he's declaring war once again. They're getting military level spending, man, and just to show the amount. All right, once again, this is another article. Now this is from Newsweek. All right, they got a video of those detention centers, and we're gonna play a clip where this guy that was in Alligator Alcatraz. All right, he got shipped there, and he's going into what's happening down there, man. So I'll pull up that clip here pretty soon. But in this article, it says the Senate has passed bill making Immigration Customs Enforcement, ICE, the United States' largest interior law enforcement agency, with funding for Donald Trump's immigration enforcement, an agenda higher than most of the world's militaries, including Israel's, right? So them niggas been over there bombing and everything like that. They've been dealing with them people in Gaza. All right, they're hitting people with missiles and drones and everything like that. They don't even have that much money going into their military as much as ICE has. Like, now put that into perspective, man. These niggas are in a full-scale war. Now, we understand that America's helping them out, with different missile defense systems and, help and aid and everything like that and so on and so forth, the THAAD, or THAAD missile system and everything like that. So America is helping, but their own military, all right, they're in a war, okay, or we're in a war with Iran, all right, and the amount of spending that they use for their military isn't even the amount that America is using in ICE, all right, in ICE, So just put that into perspective, man. So who are they going to war against, all right? Well, it's ultimately the American citizens, man, all right? Anybody's an enemy, okay? Anybody for any reason, all right, can be an enemy and deported and shipped away, all right? But chiefly you tribes, man.
Yeah, chiefly the tribes, but like you said, anyone who's considered anti-establishment. If you question them gutter rats over there being in America funds and militarily, you're considered enemy. I believe Trump had he either officially signed an executive order to enforce that action or he entertained it. But it's going to come a time to where these draconian measures are going to be apparent, man. You see? Because we're in. These are all end signs that we're entering a total dystopian future, or the totalitarian technocracy, where they want to increase the surveillance through AI, which is a part of the terms of the big beautiful bill, to keep tabs on the tribes. And Biden was doing the same shit with that app, that Customs and Border Patrol app. So there is one side, is one hand watching the other, man. This whole beef between Democrats and Republicans is all horseshit, man. It's all a smokescreen. They work for the same master, which is these damn, the bankers. Okay, so that's why they're investing so much in military budget. So I'm gonna go ahead and segue over to around this mark here. Okay.
Showed up seemingly in confusion as well, right? Because Trump is showing that he's in charge. All these liberal states and everything like that that's been trying to say that they're battling and fighting against him, he's like, no, nigga, I'm in charge, all right? I call the shots on this. So he was just showing his force and his might, like, this is how we coming. Yeah, them billions of dollars that I put in the ice, they're going to be strapped, ready, and equipped, okay? So I'm going to play just the beginning of this, man.
No, not me, dude. No,
Look at these niggas came up the cup.
I get you. Why are you even aiming that shit at me, man? I'm like, not that threat. Please de-escalate.
Shame on you, fucking pigs! That is very dangerous. That is a stop grenade. Are you serious right now? Maybe you guys should just go ahead and report me, bro. This is me. This is my job. You're not going to intimidate me. We still have a First Amendment in this country.
As Jordan was stated.
Right, and they pulling up like that at a park, all right? They're just showing their might, man. They got the horses, military gear and everything like that, all right? And they finna pull up on Home Depot, all right? They finna roll up in Home Depot, man, just to grab, Juan and Pedro in the back.
See, this is what the agenda is all about, man. That's why in the beginning of these mass deportation ICE raids, during the beginning of Trump's second tenure as the modern day Caesar of modern day Rome, America, Babylon the Great, they were rounding up, Jake, including Hispanic Jakes from restaurants and Jakes that were not even considered migrants, man. So this is what Jake don't understand, especially, the Southern Kingdom, so-called Negroes, that they can round you up too and declassify you as a Haitian national. Case in point. That this is a grand scheme of what's at play here, man. So, speaking of which, let me get Daniel 8:25. I'm gonna start at 23. It says, "And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up." To really Antiochus Epiphanes, that was afflicting and oppressing Jake, at the point of mutilating Jake for refusing to eat swine's flesh. You devils have a lot to pay for, man. You've been torturing our people, okay? Including Kilmar Abrego Garcia. That report and on his behalf that further exposed the fact that he was tortured in that El Salvadorian prison over there, which I'm gonna get to momentarily. It says in verse 24, "And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully and shall prosper and practice and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people." And this is what he's doing now. There's nothing new under the sun, man. Verse 25, "And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many." See, under guise of peace and the well-being of people, we're doing you a favor getting rid of these niggas and spics, man. They're degenerates. They're criminals. They're violent gang affiliates. You see, they're cartel affiliated. That's all Western propaganda, man. To support Esau's narratives of his agenda. Okay. Meanwhile, the commander in chief is a goddamn felon. Okay, and sexual deviant, an Epstein affiliate. So where this nigga's prosecutions, man? You see that? This what makes him the devil, a hypocrite, okay? A scoundrel, a habitual liar, okay? A vile and profane person who's unbiased in his rulership, which is wickedness, which is wicked, okay? So it says, "And by peace shall destroy many, He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Eventually, there's going to be a war between the realms, the spiritual realm and this realm. Okay, including the angels, including Mayaka Allah. Okay, one of the princes of the Lord. All right, including the prince himself, the Prince of Peace, Yahushua, pursuing Isaiah the 9th chapter, coming to wage war on Satan and his angels to reestablish peace upon the nation of Israel under that second holy covenant, where we would no longer know what war is anymore, because we would no longer know what sin is, which the wage of sin, is death. See? So that's why this world is in shambles, because these devils are ruling it, man, and who they're ruling over, pursuing our people through their satanic devices. Like it says in Psalm 64 chapter, let me get that real quick. Psalm 64:1. Hear my voice, O power, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. Because that insurrection is coming, man. Prophesied in 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, verses 70 on down. Through martial law. Okay? Part of the prophecy in Jacob's trouble in Jeremiah 30:7. So it says, who whet their tongue, Salakia. Who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. Now the word whet means to sharpen. Because they're furbishing their swords right about now, man. Pursuing Ezekiel the 21st chapter. Okay? Ezekiel 21:9 on down. Why? Because pursuing Ezekiel 21:3, Esau has been afraid to use to punish the wicked of Israel. Okay? Here's verse 4, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. The perfect is Israel. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? Because it works in the dark, like it says in Isaiah the 29th chapter. Okay? They say, who shall see us? Well, Yahweh by Hashem Eshai, because his eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. Okay? So this is why you devils are being exposed, man. Because their strongholds and stumbling blocks of your iniquities being torn down. This was going to force you to come down with great wrath, knowing that you have but a short time. This is Lamentations 4:17. It says, as for us, our eyes as yet fail for our vain help, and our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They hunt our steps, that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near, our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. See? All right? And we're within that time. Okay? These devils pursuing us. Okay? Of this nation that cannot save us. Verse 19, our persecutors are swifter than the eagles of the heaven. They pursued us upon the mountains. They laid wait for us in the wilderness. And this is exactly what they're doing right about now. Okay? Laying wait for us in the wilderness. Okay? Lurking privily, as it says in Psalm the 10th chapter. As a lion. Roughly paraphrasing. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Psalm 10 and 8. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, and the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor, when he draweth him into his net. Through his snares, his traps, through his politics, his military, his border patrol agents, ICE agents, the military. Okay, AI technology, and ultimately the chip. Because out of fear of Jake losing their lives, they're going to take this chip, man, collectively, the 2/3 of our people. All right, so this is how you devils are further, persecuted us. All right, on behalf of that eagle, representing vileness, the most vile, the foulest of the air. Okay, which further represents the eagle is another symbol of iniquity. Okay, originating back to ancient Egypt, full of idolatry and wickedness, including the pagan Greco-Roman Empire that was ruled by the Edomites. Same reason why during Biden's departure from office, he passed some kind of legislation or executive order to make the eagle the national bird of America. See that? So this is who this eagle is talking about. Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, the man of sin and son of perdition, who's been pursuing Jake for centuries to destroy them out of envy of the devil. This is how death is coming to the world, man. So now I'm going to segue back to what happened to Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Okay, and that wickedness coming out.
Whatever judgments that the Lord has prepared for our people to go through, man, they're not going to go your own way. They're going to cry out. Live goes into an account of this Israelite, all right, that got sent to El Salvador, all right, with no criminal record, okay, and it kept coming up in the media. They kept blasting it in the media, and then eventually somebody went down there, you know, and they were able to get him out of that situation because it was so much heat that was coming down upon the Trump administration and everything like that about this particular individual. But there's hundreds of people that have been sent over here that are experiencing what this dude experienced, and they're not getting taken out of it, man. See, even in this is just, you know, it's through the Spirit that he was taken out of that just to even give this testimony of like, look, this is how it's really going down in these in these prisons, man. Now let me get to the minute mark.
Torture executive order, there are no consequences for it. They're enforced. If the government decides to torture, there are no consequences for it. So Trump gets in there and he signs a pro-torture executive order. And I was hair on fire at the time about it. And guess what? Now we have more information that indeed torture is occurring. Get this, in NBC News. Kilmar Abrego Garcia suffered psychological and physical torture in El Salvador prison, attorneys say. At the notorious CCOP prison, he was forced to frog march and to kneel from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., and he was subjected to beatings and threats, his lawyer said Wednesday. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was stripped naked, had his head shaved, was beaten, forced to kneel for hours overnight, and lost over 30 pounds during his time at the notorious CCOP prison in El Salvador, his attorneys say in a new court filing. Abrego of Maryland was deported to El Salvador in March by the Trump administration in an administrative error and was returned to the U.S. in June to face federal charges. By the way, I should point out these federal charges are completely and utterly bogus, trumped-up nonsense.
Right, so they caused some heat for sending this dude down there. All right, he said he got in. Well, I don't know if they said it yet. They might have said it, but they shaved him. All right, stripped him naked. All right, hit him in his legs, beat him upside the head. All right, they forced him to kneel from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. If somebody started dozing off, getting tired, they was beating them. Like, this is what's happening, man. And if you can't see that, look. These devils are the same ones that was hanging Jake in slavery. This is nothing different. The same ones that was feeding Jake to alligators and everybody was okay with it, smiling about it, justifying it, saying that Jake is just animals to justify these different things. All right, now they're trying to say that everybody's just a criminal. All right, so just to justify their hatred. See, at the end of the day, they got all these different justifications, but really what it comes down to is that there's a deep hatred that Esau just has for the Israelites, man. All right, it doesn't matter if they can say that you're a criminal, all right, or not. They have a deep hatred, all right, for all of Israel. That's just what it is. That's what the scripture says. And he's showing that hatred that he has towards you. That's why he doesn't care if you're a criminal or not. That's why they're going into the system, all right, deleting the records of these different individuals, all right, to say that they're illegal, to justify, all right, throwing them into these detention centers, shipping them away, deporting them, right? Because he's the devil, all right? It ain't about whether you're legal or a good citizen or not, man.
They're trying to do it to save face about the fact that they deported an innocent person and sent him to a concentration camp. At the time of his removal from the U.S., Abrego was protected from deportation by a 2019 court order. His high-profile case was pushed into the national spotlight.
Yeah, fair use, by the way, fair use. We're not using this for any monetary gain. Any of these videos and articles or anything like that, you know, just for educational purposes, you know, definitely not getting any monetary gain off of that. Just got to put that out there.
from deportation by a 2019 court order. His high-profile case was pushed into the national spotlight, sparking a heated debate over Trump's immigration crackdown and the race to deport people at times without due process. Abrego was deported to El Salvador on March 15th and placed into CICAD, a mega prison known for its brutal conditions. There, he was allegedly subjected to severe beatings, sleep deprivation, inadequate nutrition, and psychological torture, his attorney said in an amended complaint filed Wednesday. That complaint is part of a federal lawsuit filed by Abrego's wife against the Trump administration in the U.S. District Court for the District of Maryland. The complaint states that upon arrival at CICAD, Abrego was forced to strip, issued prison clothing, kicked in the legs with boots, and struck on his head and arms to change faster. His head was also allegedly shaved, and he was frog marched to a cell while being hit with wooden batons. The following day, he had visible bruises and lumps all over his body. In that cell, he and 20 other Salvadorians were forced to kneel from approximately 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., with guards striking anyone who fell from exhaustion. During that time, Abrego was denied bathroom access and soiled himself, according to the complaint. The inmates were confined to metal bunks with no mattresses in overcrowded cells with windows and bright lights that stayed on 24 hours a day. While there, prison officials repeatedly told Abrego that they would transfer him to cells containing gang members who they assured him would tear him apart. The attorney said Abrego observed prisoners violently harm each other without staff intervention. Quote, screams from nearby cells would similarly ring out throughout the night without any response from prison guards or personnel. In his first 2 weeks, he lost 31 pounds. On April 9th, the complaint says Abrego and 4 others were transferred to a different module in CICAD, but the next day he was transferred alone to the Centro Industrial Prison Facility in Santa Ana, El Salvador. Throughout his time in El Salvador, his lawyer said Abrego was denied any communications with his family and access to counsel until Senator Chris Van Hollen visited him on April 17th. Shout out to Chris Van Hollen, man. This was one of those stories that blew up.
All right.
So that's pretty much it. All right. So let's go ahead and grab Jeremiah 15:5. And it says, for who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem, or who shall bemoan thee, or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest? Okay. Especially, on behalf of the lawless enemy, all right, the mighty king of Babylon of the golden city, okay, who's been known to show our people no mercies. It said it is prophesied in Isaiah 47, the 47th chapter, Isaiah 47:6. Okay. Case in point, so, being that this devil is the current ruler of the earth, who's to go aside to ask how we're doing, man? It said in Deuteronomy 28:68, no man shall buy you, no man, meaning what? No man shall redeem you. We went into the chattel slavery with the chains on our bodies and yokes of iron around our necks. So let's go back to that. Isaiah 47:6. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst shew them no mercy. Okay. Thou didst shew them no mercy. Okay. You were graping our men through buck breaking and chattel slavery. Okay. Feeding our babies to alligators. You would take our pregnant women, mostly the Northern Kingdom during the indigenous, Spanish Inquisition. Pregnant in Northern Kingdom women, hang them upside down and cut out their fetuses, and then violate the fetuses by stomping on them. You would feed, then you would have the same pregnant women hung upside down while having their faces simultaneously fed on by your canine dogs. So you're very cruel within your punishment, man, within your affliction. Very, very sadistic and animal-like, but yeah, we're the animals though. Jake are the illegal aliens and the criminals and gang affiliates and rapists, according to Trump, that he uttered 10 years ago. Before he even ran for president, he was spewing his madness. Yeah, look at the track record of you devils. Look what you're doing to them Ishmaelites over there in Gaza. Okay, look what you're doing to the entire world. Invading lands to exhaust and exacerbate their resources. People are getting tired of you, man. It's not just Jake, okay? But it's mainly Jake, as the brother said. Because it's mainly us who you're targeting, that you've never shown any mercy towards. Okay? This is, and you're still lynching us, by the way. There's been like 4 lynchings within the past month. Majority Israelites, if not all Israelites. Because I went over there in Aurora, it was from some place in West Asia, but he's most likely an Israelite foreigner. But it says here, Isaiah 47:7, thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. So thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. You didn't consider your latter end. okay, that you be destroyed. See, but going back to our people, okay, this is why these devils were not they were not created, to help us. It said in Lamentation, the 4th chapter. That's why under their influence to this wicked covering cast of all evil, no one is bemoaning us. No one is going to see how we're doing. As it said in Jeremiah 15:5. Why? Because ultimately, it says here in Isaiah 43:11, it says, I am the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Eshai, and beside me there is no Savior. So it's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Yahweh Ba'ashem Eshai, whom is our Savior, man, who put us in this predicament in the first place, to be oppressed by lawless enemies because of our iniquity. Our iniquity is against the Lord. Okay, that's why we got exiled out of Jerusalem and scattered across the 4 corners. See, that's why Mexico, Africa, and these other areas are not our homeland. It's Jerusalem, the mother of us all. Pursuing Galatians 4:26. See, that's why here, Jeremiah 30, start at verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Okay, that time is coming once again, a time of civil unrest and martial law. For it shall come to pass in that day, said the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Eshai of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. Okay, so the Lord's going to break the yoke from off of our neck, representing captivity, bondage of captivity. Okay, including modern day slavery in corporate, working 9-to-5 jobs, making these wealthy corporate assholes more wealthier. Okay, paying this devil modern day Roman tributaries with your taxes, and so forth. This is verse 9. But they shall serve the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Eshai their power, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. Here's the point of verse 10. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Eshai, neither be dismayed, O Israel. For lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. This is the only time where we're going to truly, experience and enjoy what everlasting peace feels like. We're not going to get that on this side. It says in Micah 2:10, arise and depart, for this is not your rest. We weren't brought to Babylon, okay, for rest, to share the prosperity with our common oppressor. That'll defeat the purpose of them being the oppressor. And that's another stumbling block for Jake. And that's why they're going to have to find it the hard way that Esau is a devil and he does not care about our people, man. And he's showing that. And he's going to show it more brutally, more and more, especially through this agenda, before Yahweh Shai returns with the angels by cracking them clouds and waging war on Satan and his angels. Okay, prophesied in Revelation, the 12th chapter. And the conclusion of that matter is, our final deliverance, our salvation at the hands of our Malak, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, the Alpha and the Omega, our Creator, on behalf of the Heavenly Father. Where we're going to be taken back to Jerusalem. Okay, a prophecy that you devils that claims to be the chosen do not fulfill under the Balfour Declaration. So, in totality, the conclusion of the matter is the destruction of all of our enemies, including our common oppressor. Okay, the epitome of the lawless enemies, Esau, Edom, breaking his own constitutional laws through the 5th and 14th Amendments and so forth. Okay, and ultimately the salvation of Israel. So I'm ended off in that note. Pray this lessons further edify and exhort into elect, and give all praises, glory, infinite honor to my power, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom is the God of the living, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Baruch Hadash, and double honors to the apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone for teaching and ruling well. All right, shalom to the elect. All right, Mawach Lababal, sitting very soon, and on to the next one.